The rumors about the haunted forest had always intrigued me. My fascination with the paranormal led me to plan a solo expedition into the heart of the enigmatic woods. Armed with a flashlight and a backpack filled with supplies, I entered the thicket one misty evening. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the forest transformed into an eerie realm. Shadows danced among the trees, and the rustling leaves echoed with whispers. Every step seemed to be met with a hidden gaze, as if the very trees themselves were watching my every move. The atmosphere grew denser, and the air turned cold. My flashlight beam flickered, casting unsettling shadows on the gnarled trunks. In the distance, I spotted an abandoned cabin. Its wooden walls were weathered, and the windows were shattered, yet a faint light glowed within. Curiosity compelled me to approach the cabin. The door creaked open as if inviting me in. My heart raced as I stepped inside, the air heavy with the scent of decay. The flickering candlelight revealed an old journal on a dusty table. With trembling hands, I began to read. The journal's entries spoke of a curse that had befallen the forest decades ago. A dark entity, angered by the destruction of its sacred land, had vowed to torment any intruders. Tales of lost souls and eerie apparitions filled the pages, and a deep sense of foreboding settled over me. Leaving the cabin, I pressed onward through the forest. The trees seemed to close in, twisting and distorting my sense of direction. I stumbled upon an overgrown cemetery, its tombstones worn with time. The wind carried mournful whispers, and a distant howl sent a chill down my spine. Suddenly, a voice echoed in the air, faint yet distinct. "Leave this place," it pleaded. I turned, but no one was there. Panic rose within me as I realized that the forest was alive with the tormented souls of the past. Shadows danced around me, their forms shifting and contorting. A sudden gust of wind extinguished my flashlight. Darkness enveloped me, and an overwhelming sense of dread consumed my senses. The forest seemed to pulse with a sinister energy, and the ground beneath me trembled. I could feel eyes upon me, invisible yet piercing. Frantically, I retraced my steps, trying to escape the clutches of the haunted thicket. Branches clawed at my clothes, and unseen forces seemed to pull me back. With each step, the forest became a labyrinth of fear, a maze from which there was no escape. As dawn broke, I stumbled out of the thicket, battered and shaken. The once menacing forest now seemed benign in the daylight. Yet, the memory of those haunting hours lingered, a reminder that some places are best left unexplored and some secrets are better left buried. My harrowing experience in the haunted forest forever changed me. The shadows still visit my dreams, and the whispers of the tormented souls continue to haunt my thoughts. I now understand the true meaning of the warning. Beware the haunted thicket, for once you enter, you may never leave. The Whispering Shadows of Blackwood Forest. As a young adventurer with an insatiable thirst for the unknown, I found myself drawn to the enigmatic tales surrounding Blackwood Forest. Legends spoke of an ancient, haunted forest veiled in darkness, its depths concealing secrets that none dared to uncover. With my heart racing and trepidation coursing through my veins, I embarked on a journey that would forever haunt my memories. My first step into the forest felt like a plunge into a world of shadows. Tall, gnarled trees loomed overhead, their branches clutching at the sky as if desperately seeking an escape from their cursed confines. A cold wind whispered through the leaves, carrying with it an eerie melody that made my skin prickle with unease. Yet the thrill of the unknown propelled me forward, deeper into the heart of the forest. With each step, the daylight waned and an oppressive darkness enveloped me. My flashlight flickered, casting eerie silhouettes on the trees as if the very shadows were alive and watching. As the forest grew denser, an unsettling sense of being watched settled over me. Every rustle of leaves, every distant hoot of an owl seemed like a sinister invitation from an unseen presence. Time lost its meaning as I wandered deeper, disoriented by the labyrinthine pathways. A strange mist began to weave its way through the trees, swirling like ghostly apparitions dancing in the moonlight. I couldn't shake the feeling that the forest itself was alive, breathing in rhythm with my racing heart. The forest floor was littered with fallen leaves that crunched underfoot, their crisp symphony echoing in the stillness. My breath hitched as I caught sight of a dilapidated cabin nestled among the trees, its windows shattered and door hanging askew. Against my better judgment, I entered the cabin, my flashlight revealing a scene frozen in time. Rotting furniture, cobwebs, and a lingering scent of decay painted a grim portrait of abandonment. As I ventured further, I stumbled upon a tattered journal, its pages brittle and yellowed with age. The entries spoke of a forbidden ritual, an attempt to commune with the spirits that supposedly inhabited the forest. The author's words grew increasingly erratic, as if he had become ensnared by the very forces he sought to control. A bone-chilling sensation crept up my spine, and I could no longer deny the palpable presence that hung in the air. Whispers, soft and insidious, seemed to emanate from the very trees themselves. Shadows danced on the periphery of my vision, their movements taunting and malicious. Panic clawed at my chest, and I realized that I had trespassed into a realm beyond human understanding. Suddenly, a voice emerged from the shadows, a disembodied murmur that seemed to echo within my mind. "You should not have come," it hissed, a spectral warning that reverberated through my very soul. I tried to flee, but the forest seemed to conspire against me, the trees twisting and warping to block my path. My heart pounded as I stumbled upon an ancient stone altar, adorned with symbols I could not comprehend. The whispering grew louder, more frenzied, as if the forest itself were demanding retribution for my intrusion. With trembling hands, I found the remnants of the ritual, a collection of artifacts that, when pieced together, painted a harrowing picture of a doomed soul trapped within the forest, forever bound to its twisted depths. Desperation and fear gripped me, my every breath a struggle as I fought against the suffocating grasp of the forest. The shadows converged, swirling around me like malevolent spirits, hungry for my essence. As I gazed into the abyss, a figure emerged, its form shifting and contorting as if torn between worlds. With a voice that carried the weight of centuries, the specter recounted its tragic tale, a tale of a misguided summoning, of a soul ensnared by its own hubris. It pleaded for release, for an end to its torment. And in that moment, I understood that my only salvation lay in setting free the spirit that haunted the forest. With trembling hands, I performed the ritual, the forest itself trembling in response. A cacophony of whispers crescendoed, a symphony of agony and release. As the last incantation left my lips, the forest seemed to exhale, the shadows retreating like defeated soldiers. The figure before me dissolved, its anguished expression replaced by a semblance of peace. Exhausted and battered, I stumbled out of the forest, the morning sun casting a warm embrace upon my trembling form. I had ventured into the heart of darkness, faced the horrors that dwelled within, and emerged forever changed. Blackwood Forest held its secrets no more. Its haunted whispers silenced by a resolution born from desperation and understanding. But as I walked away, I couldn't help but wonder if the forest had truly released its grip, or if its malevolent presence would forever linger, waiting for the next foolhardy soul to heed its haunting call. The forest stood before me like a realm forsaken by light itself. It was as if the trees themselves were reaching out, gnarled limbs clawing at the heavens in a desperate plea. The rustling leaves seemed to sigh with the weight of forgotten stories, and an invisible curtain of unease settled around me as I ventured deeper. My heart pounded in rhythm with the crunch of decaying foliage beneath my boots. The sunlight struggled to penetrate the dense canopy, casting eerie patterns on the forest floor. Shadows danced playfully, but every so often, one would elongate into a figure that seemed to slink away as I turned my gaze. Whispers stirred in the wind, like faint echoes of conversations I couldn't quite decipher. My flashlight fought to pierce through the growing darkness, its beam a frail lifeline against the encroaching night. The path twisted and turned, leading me deeper into the heart of this haunting woodland. As my steps echoed through the quiet, I couldn't shake the sensation of being watched. Each time I glanced over my shoulder, the trees seemed to lean closer, their ancient faces contorted into grimaces that seemed to mock my fear. The wind carried a chorus of whispers, their words muffled yet tantalizingly close. An old, dilapidated cabin emerged from the shadows, its broken windows like vacant eyes staring into my soul. The door creaked open with a protest, revealing a room frozen in time. Cobwebs adorned every corner, and the furniture lay draped in tattered sheets. My heart raced as I stepped over the threshold, the air growing thicker with each breath. A sudden chill brushed against my neck, and a shiver raced down my spine as I felt an icy breath against my ear. I spun around, but there was no one there. My flashlight flickered, casting long, dancing shadows that seemed to take on a life of their own. As I continued my exploration, a soft, mournful melody began to play in the distance. It was a haunting tune, one that tugged at memories just beyond reach. My steps quickened involuntarily, drawn toward the source of the sound. The path grew more twisted and overgrown, the trees closing in as if conspiring to keep me captive. The melody grew louder, accompanied by whispered verses that resonated in the air. I stumbled upon an ancient, weathered piano, its keys moving of their own accord, playing the melancholic melody. The whispers grew louder, forming words that pierced through my very soul. I turned to flee, but the forest had shifted around me. The path I had treaded vanished into an impenetrable thicket. Panic surged as the shadows elongated, forming grotesque figures that reached for me with bony fingers. The whispers surrounded me, their voices now a cacophony of torment and despair. My flashlight flickered one last time before plunging me into darkness. In that void, I stood alone, surrounded by the chilling symphony of the haunted forest. The whispers grew louder and more insistent, their words echoing through my mind, recounting tales of ancient sorrow and untold horror. I could feel the weight of their stories, their pain and longing merging with my own. As the darkness consumed me, I realized that I was no longer a visitor in this forest. I was now a part of its haunted tapestry, destined to whisper its secrets for eternity.